Sweden lies in the northernmost part of Europe, in a region known as Scandinavia. It's bordered on one side by Norway and on the other by Finland and the Baltic Sea. Stockholm is the country's capital.
Our first view of Stockholm was of countless waterways twisting through a frozen landscape. The city was a bustling trade center in the 14th century, but didn't become the capital of Sweden until 1634. The name means town between the bridges, reflecting the many waterways that flow between the 14 islands that make up the city center. It's one of the world's most environmentally friendly cities, with 2/3 covered by parks and water. It's so clean you can catch a salmon for dinner in the middle of town.
During the winter months, when the lakes and inlets are covered in a layer of ice, long-distance skaters can log up to 60 miles a day in the archipelago.
After suffering through a century of wars back in the mid-16 to 1700s, the Swedes adopted their commitment to neutrality.
That's a tower that the army use, and as long as the flag is up, it means that Sweden is not at war. The day when you take the flag down, then we're in trouble.
The country has managed to stay out of international conflict for almost 200 years now. But don't think they're isolationists. No matter where in the world you travel, you're bound to run into a few adventurous Swedes.
With over 50 museums, 10 royal palaces, and acres of open space, Stockholm has enough to keep you busy for several weeks.
That's the Parliament building, the whole in the middle there. And then to the right, when you come into the old town, it's the Royal Palace, the big square building, and that consists of 608 rooms. And then in front of the palace, you have all the buildings of the old town with the green copper roofs. That's the ski hill, yeah. It's quite equipped. They have 2 lifts, and they use snow cannons, so there's snow there in the winter. And to the right of that, the German church. Stockholm used to be a Hansa city. So there were a lot of German merchants in the city.
Crossing over one of the city's many bridges brings you to the narrow cobbled streets of Gamlestan. The old section of the city captures the feel of medieval Stockholm, with its tightly packed shops, art galleries, and restaurants.
If you have an abundance of krona in your pocket, you can step into the past at Den Gyldene Friden. To Herring. This historic restaurant has been serving the residents of Stockholm since 1722. A typical gourmet menu in Sweden will usually include salmon and herring, reindeer or elk, often served with a tart lingonberry sauce, and many different styles of potatoes. Even winters below 0 temperatures don't close the outdoor markets, offering everything from Swedish fashions and handicrafts to fresh-cut flowers. The oldest outdoor museum in the world can be found in Stockholm. At Skansen, the days of old have been recreated, complete with demonstrations of weaving and baking.
Bread was a staple for survival through the long winters, and families would stock up on this somewhat crusty but traditional food.